A major land claim dispute launched by AZA First Nation has been settled with the Canadian government. Good evening and thank you for joining us. A historic $130 million settlement has been reached between Ottawa and the First Nation community near Beardmore.
The agreement addresses AZA First Nation's treaty reserve claim against the country, which sought reserve land under the treaty and financial compensation for not having a reserve since 1850. Jess Clement has the details.
Nimbigo-Zagagan Anishinabek will now be able to build on and potentially expand its reserve after a $130 million settlement was reached between the community and the federal government. The settlement addresses the First Nations Treaty Reserve claim, which recognizes the community's loss of land through dispossession. Back in 2008, AZA received 12.5 kilometers of land near Partridge Lake and just started building on it in the past few years. Chief Yvette Matansanine says members have worked for almost 40 years to get where they are today.
This means that our community can start healing and start the next journey as we move forward to our new reserve called the Lake Nipigon Reserve.
A celebration for the settlement was hosted on Saturday, which saw Matansanine and Minister of Indigenous Services Patty Haidu sign the agreement. Haidu says the announcement marks an important milestone for the members of Nimbigo-Zagagan Anishinabek.
I've heard constituents that have told me about the stories of losing their land, losing their identity. I think we also heard that story of disbursement, people moving away from community and into all kinds of different other circumstances. This allows people to start to come back together.
Saturday's celebration also featured speeches from various community members, including youth Kyle Hainan. He spoke about what this settlement will mean for him and future generations.
The settlement makes me feel hopeful for the future. I plan to stay connected and contribute to our community. I got excited at the last community planning event, and I look forward to seeing future developments at the reserve. I'm happy that I will always have a place to call home.
Matansanine says the First Nations' next steps will be negotiating with Ontario regarding potential land within their traditional territory that will be made into reserve status.
We plan on identifying land within the Auden and Embabaka area, and of course our Lake Nipigon, our new reserve called Lake Nipigon Reserve. We like to also extend the reserve boundary to make it a bigger reserve for the future generations to come.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
A home in Martin Falls First Nation was completely destroyed by fire this weekend. According to the Anishinaabe Police Service, the house was completely engulfed in flames when officers arrived on the scene around 6:45 Friday evening. Police confirmed with nearby witnesses that no one was inside. The home was completely lost to the fire and 3 nearby vehicles sustained damage. The cause of the fire is unknown at this time and the investigation continues.
First responders in Atikokan were very busy yesterday evening. Fire crews and OPP were first called to a house fire on Willow Road at 8 o'clock. No one was injured, but the home sustained heavy damage. Then just 6 minutes after that call came in, a major gas line rupture was reported on Ron Road. The homes near the gas leak were evacuated by police, and the area was cordoned off. Utility crews managed to cap the leak, and the all clear was given around 10:30 last night. The cause of the rupture is being blamed on a private excavation. Officials remind the public that anyone planning to dig must submit a locate request by visiting ontarioonecall.ca before any digging takes place.
The 2025 budget plan is on the City Council agenda tonight. Administration is recommending 3.8% as a tax levy increase before growth. That's a somewhat smaller increase than last year. Traditionally, tax levy increases are calculated both before and after growth, with growth of the overall number of people in the tax base used to decrease rates for pre-existing taxpayers. This year, city staff are instead suggesting that the city stick to the before growth number of 3.8% and that the projected $1.1 million of assessment growth be invested into the community. Still, the report acknowledges that sticking to a 3.8% increase when municipal costs are expected to go up by 6 to 8% will be challenging.
The public is looking for status quo service levels in an ever-challenging financial environment. We know that with inflation, other cost increases, the budget could easily come in 6 to 7% as a tax levy increase. So we're not done with the 3.8. That's what's being proposed.
Hamilton notes the current proposal only covers the portion of the budget under direct city control and doesn't include outside boards and agencies like the DSAB and police, which made up about 40% of the city budget last year. Council's approval of the budget direction is just the first step in a months-long budget process.
Thunder Bay police have arrested a 42-year-old man from Iroquois Falls near Timmins for allegedly stealing 3 vehicles and other equipment during a pair of robberies this month. First, on August 15th, a pickup truck with a trailer carrying a personal watercraft was stolen from a Carrick Street business. They were all recovered and the truck was heavily damaged. Then this past Friday, another pickup truck was taken from a business on Russell Street overnight, and the suspect damaged a gate in order to escape. Officers arrested the man for both break-ins later that day, and he remains in custody.
Frontline workers gathered at Queen's Park this morning to voice their concern over the province's plan to close 10 safe consumption sites, including the one here in Thunder Bay.
The Ford government has announced plans to replace the facilities with what it calls recovery hubs, where drug use won't be allowed. CTV's Siobhan Morris reports.
This was a really emotional news conference with those frontline workers talking about the good they've seen done at these centers. And they say what the government has essentially done here is signed thousands of death notices. They say that people will die with the closure of these sites. What's more is they emphasize that we will see more needles, more overdoses in places like public parks, in bathrooms at restaurants, forcing some of that work onto people who don't have the proper training and are not emotionally equipped to deal with things like overdose deaths. Here's more of what we heard from some of those frontline workers.
We cannot have moral ideology and discrimination be the backbone of public policies. A few vocal critics who will not be satisfied until they are closed, knowing full well people will die as a result, should not be setting policies in this province. The government is creating a false dichotomy between evidence-based treatment and evidence-based harm reduction. One of the comprehensive responses to the drug death crisis have been supervised consumption services. We need to expand them, we need to fund them.
One of the things that we heard emphasized today is just how difficult it can actually be to get into something like a rehab center. There are many restrictions and the finances are a barrier as well. Today in London, we did hear the Premier double down on this policy, saying that these centers are really creating more harm than doing good. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris.
Township staff in Nipissing have been looking into other potential sites for the $37 million visitor center for the National Marine Conservation Area. Mayor Suzanne Kuko says the municipality knew the original project at the Nipissing Marina could be cancelled when historic Indigenous remains were found at the site back in May.
So our administration and council have been working proactively on some Plan Bs, right? Some sites for a Plan B. So we're moving forward with that, obviously, with the news from Parks Canada we received last week. So we are working on gathering that information for each of the properties that we think would be appropriate.
Excavation was underway at the marina site, but was halted after the remains were found. Initial reports estimated the remains were those of a First Nations man who would have lived before the 17th century. Parks Canada announced on Friday that the site is no longer a viable location for the National Marine Conservation Area building. Kuko says Parks Canada is currently working to put the property at the marina back to the way it was.
I'm not sure what the process is for that. The township's not involved with that at this point. So they have to figure out, from what I'm told, that area of the property is now classified as sort of a cemetery area. And so that there's some processes that have to go along with that.
Parks Canada says the project timelines will be significantly delayed, and the budget will also increase as a result of requiring a new location.
Ottawa Education welcomed an international committee of Indigenous educators today for a week-long visit.
The committee is from the World Indigenous Nations Higher Education Consortium, and the visit is part of the accreditation process for Ottawa's Language Revitalization Program. Justin Hardy has more.
Ottawa Education's Walkatere Revitalization Program has some special guests this week as the program seeks full accreditation. The visit started with a welcoming ceremony at the Ottawa Education Centre in Thunder Bay with trips planned to some Ottawa First Nations so the committee can meet with community members. These site visits are to ensure that Ottawa Walkatere is framed by Indigenous philosophies and incorporates Indigenous culture, language, and worldviews into its programming.
Windheck is understanding how Ottawa operate, and so at the end of September, the actual Windheck committee have their AGM, and that's where we sort of move on to the next phases, where we report back and share how we're operating, how we're going, and evaluate the program and assess the different areas it operates in.
Ottawa Walkatere is based on a highly successful project of the same type in New Zealand and has been running since 2018. Mike Graham, an Indigenous language revitalization specialist, says the Ottawa program is still in its infancy, but seems to be on the way to similar success.
We had our first rollout last year, and our second rollout is, we're doing our second rollout, and I think we're going into our third rollout now. But compared to New Zealand, it's going on the same track. It's sort of like going on the same track. We're getting more people speaking the language. So that's the aim of this program, is to bring out speakers of the languages.
Accreditation will formally recognize the Ottawa Walkatere program's effectiveness and the credentials it grants, and it will also allow access to sustainable funding. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
Thousands came out to support Our Kids Count's biggest annual fundraiser this weekend.
2024 Ribfest was another big success. Organizers estimate about $40,000 was raised for the local charity. Neb Van Pelt has the story.
From the beginning of Ribfest right to the end, lines for Ribs Royale and Dinosaur Smokehouse didn't die off. Organizers say thousands were out over the 3 days, and the event was another roaring success.
This has been a fantastic weekend. I mean, we've been so lucky with the weather that we've had. It's been nothing but sunshine all day, every day, which is awesome. And just great crowds coming in down to the marina. It's been such a great new venue for Ribfest this year.
Ribfest has become the largest annual fundraiser for local charity Our Kids Count, and Executive Director Jackie Knuff says this event is essential for their organization.
We use all the money raised to support families in the community. So all the money goes directly back into the community. And we have a lot of programs around food security, parenting support. We do, counseling services, and families just come out and get the services that they need.
Knuff estimated around $40,000 was raised through this year's Ribfest and says they are very grateful for the community's support.
It's always amazing just to see how much Our Kids Count is supported by the community. So, we wouldn't be able to do an event like this without all of our community partners and all of the sponsors that, back us up. So it's just been awesome to see everyone come out, and young children to, seniors. This is an event for everybody.
The event not only offered delicious barbecued ribs, but also had many other food venues, fun activities, and live entertainment. After spending the past several years on the CLE grounds, this was the first year Ribfest was hosted at Marina Park, and the new location was a big hit.
People have loved it. Once, people were a little unsure. Change is always a little bit uneasy, but once they get here, we've heard so many compliments about how nice the space looks, about how much this looks more like a proper festival and Ribfest and all that. So we've been really, really thankful of the reply that we've gotten on that.
Travis Sanudo says with such a positive response each year, they plan to host many more Ribfests in the years to come. Neb Van Pelt, TBT News.
Everyone came out smelling like roses on Sunday from what could have been a very stinky situation. A local skateboarder rescued a skunk trapped in a city skate park. Vanessa Bowles, the founder of the city's female skateboarder collective, was out at the Marina Skate Park for a group event when a commotion drew her to the big bowl feature at the park.
Went to go check it out, and that's when I saw the little baby skunk sitting in the bottom of the bowl. Apparently the parents had called M&R, the city, a bunch of different numbers. They said that no one was going to respond to the skunk. So that's kind of when we decided that we needed to get the skunk out. We used one of the city's parking blockades to try and encourage the skunk to go up on its own. Unfortunately, it was just so exhausted at that time that the best bet was just putting a towel over it and picking it up and getting it out of the bowl.
Well done to her and everyone involved. Bowles says she was concerned for the well-being of the skunk as much as for the people around. She and the rest of the female skateboarder collective are no strangers to rescuing critters from the bowl. She says it's a fairly common occurrence for small animals and sometimes even people to struggle climbing the steep sides.
A late summer heat wave struck Thunder Bay this afternoon. The Humidex reached what's likely to be its highest level of the season. The thermometer topped out at just over 30 Celsius, but the Humidex reached a whopping 42 degrees at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Lots of folks chose to beat the humidity at the splash pad at Prince Arthur's Landing. The fountains were a great place for the whole family to cool off. Overall, the people we spoke to seemed pleased with their decision to head to the splash pad.
Man, this is a great place. We like coming down here. The marina's really nice since they've built it up. The kids always have fun, and she has fun making friends with other kids and running around in the splash pad, so it's great and a great way to beat the heat.
I like it because Dawson is always at the block and he always plays with him.
So cute.
Yeah, absolutely adorable. And yeah, they picked the right place to be this afternoon, Fiona. I can say there were a lot of people in this building who were complaining about the humidity as they walked through the door.
Yeah, I really wanted to sit out in my backyard under the sprinkler. Really was looking forward to that. This is Northwestern Ontario. I am a Northwestern Ontario girl and proud of it. I don't do Humidex's 42.
Today, yeah.
I don't do 42 Humidex. That's just wrong. But it happened. And that was under mostly cloudy skies, and it didn't help that the winds were almost non-existent, 4 to 13 kilometers an hour. That was after an early morning low of 18. And a little bit of precipitation, mostly to the south of us. Just at this hour, though, we've still got a few pop-up showers, and that's already affecting some areas around the airport at this time. Across the region, though, temperatures are starting to cool up to the northwest. Red Lake currently at 23, Humidex around 25, so they're quite seasonal, quite comfortable there under mostly or partly cloudy skies. But down as you head towards Kenora and Fort Frances at 28, still experiencing Humidex levels in the mid-30s under loads of sunshine. That was the one thing I was relieved about here in Thunder Bay, that we didn't have that sunshine to add to all of that heat. Now, as we head up into Armstrong and Greenstone, it looks like Armstrong is warmer than Greenstone, about 3 degrees, you would say, but the Humidex, the difference is there, because the Humidex is at 33 at this hour in Armstrong, but 39 in Greenstone under mostly cloudy skies. Marathon at 21 and Wawa at 24 look quite a bit cooler, but even there, the Humidex is hovering around 30 at this time, and Sault Ste. Marie at 31 under partly cloudy skies has a Humidex of 40. So it looks like Thunder Bay was the hot spot throughout the region. Tonight, we're going to see similar temperatures to last night, a low of 17 under mainly cloudy skies. There is a 60% chance of those showers, as you saw, that's moving very close to Thunder Bay and has already started in some areas in the south. There is also a risk of a thunderstorm, but winds are going to continue to be quite light. As we head into the rest of the week, temperatures are going to start to fall back to more seasonal levels. This time of year, we should be seeing temperatures hitting a high about 21 or so, maybe 22. Also, that risk of daytime showers is also going to continue. So not necessarily the sunniest week, but after the heat of today, probably some people will enjoy a little bit of a break.
We need the rain, I think, a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Maybe not the whole week, but a couple days I'll take it.
There's a chance of showers.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Fiona. Well, when we come back, the federal government is tightening the rules on the Temporary Foreign Workers Program. We'll explain what that means as your Monday News Hour continues.
We will have, with today's changes, about 65,000 fewer people participating in the Temporary Foreign Worker Program.